Hello, welcome to today's talk about working with a financial coach. My name is Regina DeMeo, and I'm a family law attorney in Maryland and DC. And I've been doing this for 23 years, and I'm so excited to have Carrie Rattle here today. So, Carrie, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. And I had no idea you've been doing this for so long. You certainly don't look like it.
Yeah. So, I find it really fascinating that divorce seems to be an opportunity for my clients to become financially literate, right? That for the first time ever, sometimes people are learning to
Yes.
live within their means, work on a budget, and really understand investment and their finances. So, I guess I'd love to start with my question of what led you to go into financial coaching?
Um, Love the field. But where I started in this was I was fairly senior in financial services and decided to give back in some way. And I realized there are way too many people in this country who have been unable to build wealth, even at healthy salaries. So something was going wrong. And in our industry, we spent too much time talking at people or telling people what to do without helping them figure out how to put good money behaviors into their everyday busy lives. And so I became a financial coach to do exactly that.
And you've been doing this for over 7 years now, right?
I have indeed and love it.
So, is it mostly individuals you work with, or do you do couples as well?
I work primarily with professional women. That's my focus simply because there are many social norms that have existed for decades that still separate women really from learning about their finances. But I also work with men and couples. And what's interesting is that sometimes I'll have the male and the partner come to me and say, listen, my wife is wicked smart, but I need her to be engaged with me as a partner because I want her brain on finances. And so, will you work with us together to bring her into the fold? Or sometimes a professional woman, either individual or as a partner, says, my career's on track. I'm feeling pretty good about my health. And this is the last thing to tackle. It's time.
Right. Um, so, how do you help people tackle debt? Because I think debt is something that, I graduated law school with over $100,000 of debt. We all have mortgages and, car payments. So debt is a big thing to have to tackle in life.
Yes. I would say, beyond typical debt, like a regular mortgage or something like that, when you get into credit cards and student loans, it can be unwieldy. And I have a typical program actually, and it starts with money beliefs, which of course we develop in childhood. And, sometimes paying off debt or incurring debt has to do with the fact that we believe money is status, right? So we look at money beliefs, we look at emotional triggers. Sometimes people want to take every dollar they own and pay off their student loans right away. But when you think about it, student loan interest rates are quite often much lower than other kinds of debt that you may have. So if money is security, they want to pay it all off quickly, whereas they could leverage it in other ways. So helping them with emotional triggers and then behaviors, right? How do you behave? How can you divert some of the money that's outflowing to other places to help you pay down your debt faster if that's what you want to do? And so it's a very deliberate program that builds step by step, and it's always effective. Sometimes I even help people negotiate down their credit card debt.
Is this that 13-week program that we talked about?
There's the debt is a 12-week program.
Well,
The
wait.
13-week program is for compulsive shoppers.
Oh, okay. Which I love that you do that too, because I see way too many people that have an addiction to shopping.
Yeah, sometimes it's a way of acting out revenge shopping when you're getting divorced too.
Right. Yes. So another thing I see in my divorce cases, which I find fascinating, is these baby boomers that are actually paying for their children's divorces. So like it's the child who's my age that's going through a divorce, and their parent is the one paying for it. And the grandparents are also paying for private school tuition for their grandchildren, and which is fine if you have those resources. But my concern is that some of these parents paying for their grandchildren's private school or their children's divorces actually don't have sufficient means to do that. So what kind of tips would you have for those people?
So this is like the big question, right? This is really sensitive territory here. And it's natural for a grandparent or a parent to want to give their kids the best or their grandchildren the best. And sometimes, though, money and love are confused. Money is assumed to be love. And when you don't have enough money as that grandparent, then you're putting yourself in a really tricky situation. So I would advise asking yourself sort of three different questions here. There are more, but these are really key ones. The first one is, if you're paying for the divorce or you're paying for your grandchildren's private schooling, are you enabling your children to live beyond their means? So instead of putting the money toward paying for either of those, are they still going out and getting a bigger home or getting new cars every 2 or 3 years or buying a boat, right? Or are they trying to set money aside and save? So if it's the first, all you're doing is helping your kids live beyond their means because they could afford those other payments, but just aren't.
Right.
The second one, allowing them to save to get on a better footing after they're divorced, or begin saving for retirement, then you're helping them have a better life. So that's number one. Are you helping them live beyond their means? Number two is, are you bailing them out on a consistent basis? And you're sending a really interesting signal here. If every time they have expense, they're coming to you and you're paying it, number one, you're telling them that you have enough money to do this.
Right.
They are becoming reliant on you, and they're also learning to be helpless. They're not having to figure out how to do it themselves. They just come to you, right? As a grandparent. So that's the second thing to ask yourself. And then the third is, and it's a little sensitive, are you buying love? So if you're contributing to your grandchildren's education, are you buying access to them by having the leverage of contributing to their life in a substantial way? So it's just a matter of being honest with yourself. And we all have different values and different money beliefs. I'm a real advocate of having whoever has to pay for something having skin in the game. So if mom and dad or the grandparents want to contribute, then the children, the adult children, should have skin in the game so that they are aware of how much it does take to pay
Right.
for something, right? And second of all, that they're making a wise decision because they have their own skin in the game as well as their parents.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So, in your experience, what would you say is the money or a couple of money strategies that you feel people are most lacking?
Oh, frugality and social indifference. These are key. And I want to attribute the names to a company called Data Points. They have incredible research on behaviors. They've interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So these are very accurate. And these are two that I see all the time. Frugality. So frugality is not being cheap. It's living within your means. It's understanding, what you can afford and being comfortable in yourself to sort of live the way you want to live. Social indifference is really tricky. If you are socially indifferent, you are not affected by the Joneses next door. If you lack this, you follow the Joneses, you follow influencers around the world. You need to get those must-have items, right? So
Right.
the more social indifference you do have, the more likely you are going to be able to save because you have self-esteem and you don't need the esteem of others. tricky, but and the two work really, really closely together. I see both all the time.
It's funny, and now it makes perfect sense. And people that have those traits tend to have a lot of money, right? They come to me for the divorce, but there isn't debt and all sorts of messiness going on. Whereas, right,
Yes.
those that have those traits, that don't have them, I mean, they're a mess, and then they're the ones that have the parents bailing them out.
Yep, absolutely. You think of Warren Buffett, right? The man is worth billions, and he lives in a modest, tidy, pleasant home on a street and has lived there for decades and decades. That man has extreme social indifference. He's just a very smart, thoughtful, deliberate man.
Yeah,
He's a good role model.
absolutely. So if people wanted to get more information about your services, what's the best way to do that?
You can contact me at either of my websites, Behavioral Sense with a C, just like the little logo behind me here,
Okay.
or Stopping Over Shopping. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of postings, I have videos, and I talk about money beliefs and emotions and triggers and that type of thing. I try to make it a little fun and light while still sharing.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, it's really a service that's amazing and very necessary. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk today.
Oh, you are most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.